Hey, got another video for you. So, building arrows, right? It's a lot cheaper to build them yourself. Just buy shafts and the components. It's also a lot of fun. Um, you can tune your arrows exactly how you want them. So, how do you do it? How do you do it and not spend a lot of money? So, I'll show you. Excuse my camera work here. So, I got a couple of things that I do. So, one, the shaft you select. I think a lot of people think it matters a lot more than what it does. Okay? Very few people are actually going to be able to outshoot the straightness of their arrow when we're talking about modern carbon arrows. Especially if you're shooting bare bow. Unless you're like gold level Olympic archer, I highly doubt that you're going to be able to actually tell the difference between a .006 and 3 and 1. It's just, I think it's in your head. And with that said, if that gives you confidence and you feel that that's going to give you an edge, your mental game's everything in archery. So if you think that's going to give you the edge, go for it. It's your money. It's what you shoot. No one should knock anyone for what they do. So for me, I just shoot these cheap warrior arrows. Okay? They're gold tip. They're durable. I find them to be accurate. I've had no issues with these. I've killed deer with them. I've shot 3D. I can't think of one breaking on me. It's a good arrow. They're economic. I like them. Okay? So, cap wraps. Okay, so that's one thing. I think you should have a cap wrap. I think that it it makes it better if you need to take the fletching off. You're not scraping the shaft up. You can peel the cap wrap off. I think aesthetically it looks better. I just like them. So if you've ever bought cap wraps, you know they want like $15 to $20 for a dozen. You go to Walmart and you get this stuff. It comes in a roll. Okay. Oracle 651. Any color you want. You can order it on Amazon too. You can get a roll of this for like $10 and you do hundreds of arrows. Just make a jig, use a ruler, whatever you want. Cut you out a piece. Make a template, trace them, cut them out. It's really simple to do that. Like you could even just have your kids help you do this if you really wanted. And these are durable. I've never had these peel up on the end. Never had any issue with using Oracle at all. In fact, a lot of people say it's the exact same material that manufacturers use. So there's that. Take that for what you want, but works for me. I think they're cheap. Okay, now the most important part. This is with assembling any arrow component, right? Needs to be clean. If you have oils from your hands on the shaft, on components, and you try to glue or use some sort of adhesive like your cap wraps, it's going to come off. It's going to fail. It's not good. So I just use some rubbing alcohol, some of that on a paper towel. Rub that down in the area you're going to apply it. Pretty simple. It's a dry side. You know it's going to evaporate pretty quick anyway, but do that. Ready to go. Take your cap wrap that you made for pennies. peel that off. And now you could use a magazine. I just use using a little notebook here. Just peel it off like that. Then set this one over here. I'm going to take my knock, and you want to go like maybe a 1/16 of an inch, as small of an amount as you possibly can, gap between the arrow knock and the actual shaft. That way you're not taping up your knock and then you can't turn it and all that. So I just kind of look right over the top of it, line it up straight, and then just coast it down. Fan your hand out like that with your fingers, roll back, roll forward. Get that first edge seated pretty well. Roll it on. Make sure it's all sat down. Run your fingers down the edge. There you go. So there's one. So we'll just do this other one real quick too, while we're at it. It doesn't take but a second to do them. And I also wash my hands before I do this. That way I'm kind of cutting down on the oils. Just line that up. Roll up. Set that edge down. And there we go. We're all done. Okay, so now points. Well, inserts. Okay, use these gold tip 100 grain brass inserts. Shooting a 400 spine arrow for my Uka Yankee limbs. I didn't think they're only set at 44 pounds right now at my draw. I've read online that people say, oh, you'll end up needing stiffer arrows than you think. So, we're dropping stuff. I don't know. I've always tend to need to use a much weaker arrow than what most people do. Where people would use a 500, I would be using a 600, etc. So I shot 600s. They're weak. 44 pounds at 27.5 should be expected, even for me. 500s, full length, still weak. Bare shafting like 8 inches to the right at 20 yards. So I'm going to go some 400s, see how those shoot. I try to keep them full length just because that helps me with gaps. But I'll tune as necessary to get them. So, okay, so got my inserts. Screw points in them. Same thing as with any other component. We're going to need to make sure they're clean. So I'm going to get a paper towel. And side note, this is why I use notepads, right? You have the spiral. That spiral will help hold that arrow still, so it's not floating around on you. Okay. So now I'm going to get alcohol. I'm going to take a Q-tip, like so. I'm going to wet the end. I'm going to let the excess go onto that paper towel. And I'm just going to clean the inside of the arrow, just like you're swabbing a gun barrel. Use the other end of the Q-tip. Dry it out. I normally don't do more than 2 shafts with 1 Q-tip, and then I get a new one. Now that paper towel that got that excess, use that and clean the insert here. Okay. I used to glue, like super glue. I used to use Gorilla Glue, the blue cap kind, and it works. I am impatient. I hate waiting for glue to set up, and this camera's just a little bit. It bothers me waiting for glue to set up. So I read online. Someone said, "Hey, the Gorilla Glue, heavy duty Gorilla Glue sticks from Walmart works as hot melt. It's great, holds. I've been using that for about a year now. Man, it's quick, it's easy, painless, sets up in like a minute, then you can shoot, and I have not had one give." Again, that also comes down to how clean your arrow is. If your arrow has oil in it, if you do not clean your arrow components or the shaft inside, outside, you're going to have failures, and it doesn't really matter what you use. You have to keep things oil free. Okay, so get these going here. So one, don't really have to do this, I just do. These little butane torch, just kind of warm up that insert. And heat up this glue stick. Now, you do not want to burn it. If it starts turning brown or black, it's too hot. And you just want to get that hot glue on there. Doesn't have to be pretty at all. You just want to get most of the surfaces covered. So it looks something like that. Okay? Don't have to get every single nook and cranny, just the majority. Okay? And this is why I screw in the point, so you have something to hold on to. Okay? I grab my shaft like that, and I'm going to take my torch. I'm just going to warm that glue back up. You'll see it kind of go from a hazy to clear. Take that, kind of spin it as you push it in, get it flush, hold it for a second. Okay, set that to the side. That glue ring is still kind of wet, so, or it's still melted, so don't set it on something. I mean, it's not a big deal. It's just hot glue. You could peel it off, but I normally prop it up. Get this other one. Again, these glue sticks, these Gorilla Glue heavy duty hot glue sticks, cheap. Couple bucks for a bag, lasts you forever. Let's get it on there. Okay, that's good. I'm going to heat that up. Let it sit for a second. Now I'm doing that because sometimes if you have pressure, you know, if there's like back pressure in the shaft from the knock being on, sometimes it'll try to push them out. So I kind of just hold them there for a second and let it sit. Okay. And about the time you're done with your second arrow, you can go back to your first one. Oops. I'll show you here. You got your glue ring. Just kind of peel that dude right on off. And if there's any residue that's, you know, sitting right there, don't worry about that. That'll shoot right off. By the time you're done with that, you go to your second one. And it's gone. That's that. Okay, so now let's move to fletching. Move some stuff out of the way here. So I'm going to do, I shoot shield cut feathers. I shoot those specifically because I use the fletching to my nose as kind of like a psychological trigger. I feel like it gets a better contact with my nose when I'm shooting. So I'm shooting 4-inch feathers. This is for a hunting arrow. If I were shooting strictly 3D or something, I'd probably go with a 3 or a 2-inch feather. Doesn't matter what you shoot, as long as you like it. So I used to use, and I still use this to some degree, Bonning Fletch-Tite Platinum. This is a really good glue. I've tried the Gorilla Glues. They do work. There's lots of glues that work. This is just what I've used. But here recently, I've started using Bonning Fletch tape. And I think the Fletch tape is really, really good stuff. You know, I used to get quite annoyed by gluing my feathers on because, you know, you think you've let it sit long enough, and then you pull your clamp off, feather comes off halfway, then you're trying to hold it down, then you got to refletch, you know, or your clamp sticks to the feather. Again, I like things that are smooth and efficient. So what I do is use the Fletch tape, and then I'll come back and I'll put a bead of glue on the edges and at the front and the back. Just kind of hold it in really well at the base of the quill. Never had a fletching come off ever since I've started doing this. I really like it a lot. So I'll show you how I do that. Let me reposition the camera here. Okay, so we're gonna fletch. I think you can use pretty much any jig that you want. Any jig that you have will work just fine. I use this Avalon. It's a 6 jig setup, and that was really helpful when I glued because I could have 6 arrows going at once. With the Fletch tape, you don't need to. It just goes so quick and so smooth that I just don't think that, I mean, you'll see what I mean. It's just so fast that it's just not even necessary to have. I could just do one, and I could do a dozen just as fast as if I used all of them. So it's pretty simple. So first thing we need to do, again, we need to clean. That's critical. So we need to clean this wrap because it's has not been cleaned. We've touched it. If you touch it with your fingers, it must be cleaned with alcohol. Okay, and then get a dry part. We're good. All right, so now I'm going to stick this into the jig. And so this has a 4 fletch indentation that comes with these. I'll show you. Comes with these little barrels. So you've got 3 fletch and you have 3 indents, and then you have 4 fletch. Well, these are like 8120 or something like that. And it's they're not an even fletch. So what I did, you can see the Sharpie marks. So that's where your knock sits, right? And I've got a line directly in line with that on both sides, and then 90 degrees away. Away, I got a 90 degree. This has about a 1 degree offset. So I like that with this jig. I think it's pretty easy. There's definitely better jigs than this. This is a cheap one, okay? But I don't think that you have to spend a lot of money to have effective archery equipment, you know? Yes, the expensive stuff is nice, and if that's important to you, do it, but I don't think it's necessary. So, again, on my clamp here, it's got little marks, so you know where you're placing. I've just marked that with a marker, and that at that position right there, that's when I get to my full draw. I transfer to hold. I'm increasing my back tension. When I get to the end of range of movement, that's when the feather touches my nose. That's my cue to release. So, and that was determined by trial and error. Okay. So now for the Fletch tape. Again, they make jigs for this. I think it's easy enough just doing this. I just use a little multi-tool pair of scissors. Okay. This little roll here that I've been using for a while. So I just pull up an edge of it. I get that started nice and straight. Push it down just a little bit. And push that down. If you see how it's like darker pink there, that's when it's kind of sat on. So don't push it down until you're ready. And just trim that little piece off. Now I'm going to look at it, make sure that the tape is straight all the way down the quill. I tap into place, push gently. Once it's all kind of set, then you're going to take your fingernail, you're going to push in, you're just going to work it in. And you can see the difference between where it's lighter and darker. You want it all dark. That means that you've got a good adhesion to the quill. And I like to start in the middle and then work out to the ends. Just in case there's any little gap, we can work that out. Just like with anything, your preparation is key to having, things work correctly. Okay? So, now I'm just going to get my fingernail, pick this little edge off. Not a big deal. Make sure I'm seated in the barrel correctly. Put my jig in. Ride it down slow. Give it a little push. Clamp out. Run my fingernail down the quill. Just kind of setting it all on there. Push. Rotate to the next position. Okay, make sure that's seated in there all the way. Pin that down. Go to the back, run it straight. Cut it there. Okay, looking good. Peel it off. Push it on. And I've shot these for months without even gluing them afterwards. And again, never had one come off. So, I would not be afraid at all just use the tape alone and just roll with that. I like to glue it just because I like the little extra security, especially if I'm going to be hunting with them, you know, going from warm summer months to cold, possibly wet, you know, a little bit of glue goes a long ways, especially for your confidence. Just like I said about the arrows, shooting the higher dollar arrows. That gives you confidence, do it. You know, if you know, like, hey, I'm not really going to see a gain with the extra $150 for a dozen arrows, don't do it. Chances are you're right. You're not going to see a gain. But if it gives you the warm fuzzy, by all means, archery is a game of confidence. If you pull up to a shot, right, 3D course, in the yard, in the field, and you have a lack of confidence in your mind, you're probably going to miss. If you're sitting there saying, I'm probably going to miss, well, guess what? You're probably going to miss. So whatever you can do that builds that confidence in you is important. But for me, confidence is built through proven efficiencies, tactics, doing what I know works, having faith in it. That's important. I know this works for me, saves me a couple of bucks. So that's what I do. All right, we're almost done here. Got one more. Okay, lined up. Get my tape. You see how fast this is going. I mean, if you were doing 3 fletch, you'd already be done with this arrow. I alternate between 3 and 4 fletch. Just kind of whatever I'm feeling at the moment. Before I got these Uka limbs, I was shooting some Trad Techs, and I was shooting 3 4-inch shield cuts. Flew just fine. Just decided to try some 4 fletch out. New limbs, new arrows, try something a little different. I think the important part in, you know, building your own arrows, it gives you the ability to play, especially when you're doing it cheap, right? Like if I said, hey, don't like this 4 fletch, going to go back to 3. Man, I'm just peeling off a wrap that I spent less than a nickel to create. And then refletch, which only takes a couple minutes per arrow. And I'm back in business. So if you're not fletching, I highly suggest you doing it. You can get set up with an outfit that's fairly cheap, but yet still effective. Okay. And there we go. Try to get that straight. 4 fletch. About a 1 degree offset. Now, if I were to glue this, which I'm going to go work on tuning, so I'm not going to glue them right now, but I would just put some glue right where the quill starts, and then alongside that edge, thin one on that edge, and then on the back. Then let those set up overnight before you shoot them. So that's it. I mean, it takes just a couple minutes, and I've got an arrow set up. And if I need to, say I need to trim a little bit off the arrow, just put a point back in, heat the point, just keep it rotating, heat it, occasionally pull on it. Once you can pull that out, it's gone. That's it. And you can clean up the inside a little bit. You can use a little chainsaw file carefully. You do not want to be filing away your carbon. You know, don't file away your carbon. Just get the glue. If you get your point hot, when you put it back in, it'll kind of remelt and it'll sit flush. It's fine. Obviously, it's always best if you know you need to cut an arrow to cut them first before you ever glue them. But I'm just doing two. Just doing this one fletched, one bare shaft. Gonna get 90% of the way there, and then I'll fletch up the rest of the arrows and we'll be set. So hope that helped. If you're not fletching, do it. It's fun. It'll save you some time and some money.